Blink Twice is directed by Zoe Kravitz and it stars Naomi Ackie and Channing Tatum. And in Kravitz's directorial debut, several people are invited to a tech billionaire's island for a vacation, but while they're having fun, they start to realise that something is a bit off about this island. Now, Blink Twice was a movie I was actually kind of excited for. I'm a big Zoe Kravitz fan, I think she's a brilliant actor, and I was interested to see what she'd do behind the camera. Plus, you got a really solid cast. Channing Tatum, Christian Slater, other brilliant actors in this as well. You know, everything just seemed like it was coming together and it could make a really good thriller movie. And I saw it today, and unfortunately this movie didn't really live up to my expectations. I don't think it's bad, and I'd really highly suggest you go and see it, but it didn't achieve what I wanted it to. This movie is going to be very hard to review because the stuff I really want to talk about involves spoilers, but I don't really want to spoil this movie. I feel it's one of those movies where, again, the less you know going into it, the better it will be. And I feel it's going to be one of those movies where there's going to be a lot of opinions, people on that side, this side, whatever, about this movie. And I think that's great. I'm on a bit of every side, it seems. But before going to the story and stuff, I do want to talk about the things that I really loved about this movie. For one, the direction of this film, the cinematography, amazing. Perfection. Zoe Kravitz can direct. I really wanted to direct more movies. I'm interested to see where she goes from here. What I really liked is that she does a brilliant job of creating this sense of unease. And you can tell in every scene, while everyone's enjoying themselves, drinking, smoking weed and everything, they're having a good time. There's just something about the way it's shot where you're like, something's not quite right here. There's just a little bit in your brain where you're like, what's going on here? And she captured that effect really well. Some things that could be very disorientating for a viewer, how you should follow that 180 rule of a camera where you place it, is kind of broken here for that sense of unease. It's done on purpose. So overall, Zoe Kravitz did a brilliant job with the direction of this movie. I also loved the other technical aspects like the editing as well. Again, gave that sense of unease. The cuts are quite quick. I had this with a film I watched a few days ago where the cuts just immediately happen when a scene ends. There's no like couple seconds just to let it linger in your mind. With this one, it's straight to the next scene. And while I don't really like that technique, I felt it fit this movie's uneasy feeling very well. I also like the music of this movie. It's very what I like to call one note, where there's hardly any melody or rhythm, it's just notes. And I've always found that really creepy, and I think it pulled off that creepy effect really well. And I also really loved the performances in this movie. I think Naomi Ackie pulled off a brilliant performance here. Channing Tatum was absolutely delightful, but again, kind of creepy in the same scene as well. I think he pulled off that balance really well. And there's scenes later on in the movie where he's just straight up creepy, and he pulled that off brilliantly. He also has this slight monologue near to the end of the film, and it's certainly going to be the highlight of this movie for a lot of people. And he was just brilliant in that scene. This whole one shot near enough of him just shouting this monologue. Put it off excellently. I also really liked Adria Arjona. You'll probably know her from Andor and Morbius. We're not talking about Morbius. We're going to be talking about Blink Twice today. She was great in this movie. She pulled off like this jealousy personality while also being sarcastic. She pulled off a lot of different emotions. She was easily a big standout for me in this movie. Now let's get on to the proper stuffing of this movie. The actual story, the content, the themes, the messages. So, this movie hooked me in. It did a brilliant job with that. It set the foundations for a good movie with very solid and heavy-hitting themes about class, gender, I'd say celebrity worship as well. I think it did a really good job with the setup. But the thing about these sort of movies is that your setup is only as good as your payoff. If you don't have a good payoff and a good ending, then everything that came before it just really doesn't hit the same. And as I said, the build-up to the answers to these questions and what's revealed was really good. And at first, I liked what was revealed. I think well, the ending before the actual ending scene was pretty good. It was very gnarly. That's all I gotta say. It didn't really go full balls to the wall, which I kind of wanted it to. So that was a bit disappointing, but it's nothing like a big match. Only a bit of a nitpick in that sense. But the answers that it gives were pretty good. I didn't feel cheated. It felt naturally built up. It didn't just feel like reveals for the sake of, oh, a reveal, be shocked. It wasn't like that. I think they were nicely set up. And there was one point where I was like, okay, this is the last scene. We're wrapping up. And then another scene comes in. And I feel this final scene just really confused me. It didn't really fit into what the rest of the movie was saying. If anything, it was kind of just out of place and just felt like what I said earlier, how this movie didn't feel like it cheated me. That bit there did feel like it cheated me a bit. It just felt like, it's shocking because be shocked, you know? It didn't hit the same as the other reveals. And then the credits started rolling, and I was just like, okay, what were you trying to say here now? Because you've completely lost me with those final, 90 seconds of this movie. And the whole message before it was really well done, and I think they handled the heavy-hitting themes and messages really well. There's themes about people controlling others, manipulation, as I said earlier, celebrity worship. And there are some very disturbing acts that happen in this film which were handled respectfully. And there was even a trigger warning before this film started about one thing. As I said, I think it handled that really well. But then the final couple minutes of this movie just really confused me with what this movie was trying to say. In the end, I feel this movie tried to tackle a little bit too much. And I rate its ambition for trying to do that. But you kind of just need to focus on a couple things, not that. Focus on a couple. And if you wanted to focus on those other things, you kind of need to make this movie longer. Because this movie was shorter than I expected. It's only about 100 minutes. If you exclude credits, just under 100 minutes. I thought it should have been a bit longer if you wanted to explore all these things. So, unfortunately, while I did enjoy my time watching Blink Twice, because of those final few minutes, it kind of just ruined and soured my taste for everything that came before it. But as I said, this movie is brilliantly directed. Zoe Kravitz really kills it in the director's chair here. I really would like to see her direct more movies. And I think the performances were all top notch. And this movie had me hooked in. And I think it handled these hard-hitting themes really well. Delivered pretty satisfying answers until that final little bit. As I said earlier, the setup with these sort of films is only as good as your payoff. And the movie didn't pay off really well. And for that, it really just affected my view of this film as a whole. So overall, Blink Twice was a bit of a disappointment. As I said, I really highly suggest you watch it. I think it's one of those movies that's going to divide a lot of people. I'm interested to see other people's opinions on this. But for me, it kind of just went all over the place by the end. So, unfortunately, while I don't think this was a good film, I thought it was fine in the end, but not what I wanted it to be. So I'm going to have to give Blink Twice a 6 out of 10. As I said, not bad, not good either, just very fine. And that's because of the final few minutes. And yeah, guys, that's it for the end of this review. If you have seen Blink Twice, let me know your thoughts on it. Did you like the ending? Did you like it all the way through? Let me know. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. Have a good day. I'll see you later.